Hello, everybody, and welcome to Unanswered Questions. Sometimes during our live video broadcasting to students, we get so many questions, we just don't get enough time to answer all the questions.
Sometimes? You mean all the time?
Yeah. We had a lot of questions this month,
Yeah.
so we had to answer the top upvoted ones for the month of, what was last month? That was
It was April.
April was last month.
Hello.
The months are going
They're
by.
blending. They're
Yeah.
blending together.
So these are the top upvoted questions from students in April.
Yeah.
All right.
Let's get after it.
Okay. First question. Is it safe to make a YouTube channel, and how can you make one safer?
Go for it.
Yeah, there's nothing inherently wrong with having a YouTube channel. I mean,
No.
what are you posting? I think that's the big question. If you are doing animation work, you're showing off amazing gameplay, you're showing off technological innovations you're making.
Your
there's
interests.
nothing inherently wrong with that. Just understand whatever you post there. And I think a lot of people, I think the biggest mistake people make on YouTube for safety and privacy is what information they choose to share within the video that could later come back and negatively impact them.
That's a big one. You just got to be careful that you don't put too much personal, private information in there, right?
Yeah, are you recording videos in a private bedroom and there's private things you don't want people to know about, but you don't catch that when you post the video? So things like that is what you want to look for.
Yeah.
What if you get sent weird pictures? What would we do then?
Go for it.
The best, well, it depends what the picture is. Most of the time, it's blocking, removing, and deleting. That solves most challenges that you will come across on the internet. Mostly, if you have a public, open social network, the probability that someone's going to send you something you may not appreciate increases dramatically. So to prevent it in the first place, make sure that you have private secured accounts and you connect with only the people who you know.
Exactly. Also, if they're, depending upon the type of picture, if it breaches the social media platform's terms of service, reporting the person who sent it on that platform is also an important thing to do.
Precisely.
Right? Yeah.
Can a smart TV camera be hacked?
Go for it.
There have been, in the past, yes, we have seen reports with smart TVs that weren't properly secured and hackers were able to exploit a flaw and gain access to cameras. I think, thankfully, I haven't seen a whole lot of reports of that recently.
No.
I think when the technology was first being developed, we saw more issues like that.
This one's kind of funny, right? Because whenever new technology is developed, I think a lot of vendors are really quick to push it out there without thinking about safety by design. Yeah. So I think when these things first came out, these flaws were identified fairly quickly. So as a result of that, a lot of manufacturers went, oh, hold on a second here. I think we need to make sure we build some safety features. But, you know, any kind of technology can potentially be hacked. You never want to say nothing is unhackable, but, you know, things are sometimes harder.
Yeah. Is it safe to text your friends on Snapchat?
Sure. It's you know, we always say it's not the app, it's how people use the app that make it good or bad. I mean, you know, as long as what you're snapping on Snapchat, just understand that when you hit that send button, what you've posted can become public, permanent, searchable, exploitable, copyable, shareable, and for sale. So, you know, before you hit that send button, ask yourself, do I want everybody else in the world to see that? And also understand that just because you're communicating with somebody on Snapchat, never think that what you're communicating is going to stay private or disappear, right? Like
it's just as safe if you were to traditionally text your friend or send them an email.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Should I delete videos that could negatively define my future?
I'll take that one. The simple answer is yes. You know, anything you're posting, I want you to think about posting it in order to leverage your position when it comes in a positive way when it comes to college, university, sporting opportunities, or jobs. So why post something online that could have a negative impact on you in the future? Like, to me, that just makes no sense. So we got to be careful. And there's nothing wrong with going into your social media now and having a look and going, you know, it was funny a couple of years ago, but, you know, now that I'm getting closer to graduating and moving on, let's start deleting this stuff, right?
Or you're applying for that really full ride scholarship.
Yeah, exactly.
That's very competitive to get, or you want to get into that program that's very competitive.
Or that job,
Is Minecraft safe?
Go for it.
There's nothing inherently wrong with Minecraft. I mean, if Minecraft, like the basic form of Minecraft where you just download it, you play it on your own computer, great. If you're connecting to Minecraft servers, make sure the servers you're connecting into are meeting your standards and are
age appropriateness,
age
right?
appropriate.
I think the issue with Minecraft is that there's a lot of Minecraft servers that are just totally inappropriate for young people to get into, right? Because they're talking about mature material that should be for adults only, and even then, some of that stuff is questionable. I think what's really important when it comes to Minecraft is that you create your own Minecraft server and you control who you let in to do what it is you do. So as long as you're doing that, then it becomes safer, right? Like we never say that anything is 100% safe, but Minecraft, like any other platform, has its strengths, it has its challenges, and so those are things that we need to be aware of. In fact, we've written an article on that very issue that you can find right on our blog. Yeah.
How do you actually help kids and teens? Well, first off, we provide information to prevent problems in the first place.
Yeah. Knowledge and the application of that knowledge is power, right?
Yeah. But then there's also, we have open DMs on social media, and we get tons of questions from students across North America.
And we get phone calls from students, parents, teachers, educators at
Emails.
all hours of emails all the time. And, when we're helping teens, youth, or anybody, we do it pro bono. We're not charging any money for it because it's just the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We definitely do the best we can.
We can. Yeah.
We're a small team.
But we're a mighty team.
True. If you're going live on TikTok, can they track you even if you're not the one hosting the live? Well, yeah, TikTok will have in their server where you go, what you see, and who you connect with. So if you're watching someone live on TikTok, you may not be able, that where you are may not be shared to everybody on TikTok on the public internet, but the TikTok server will still know what you're looking at.
I think the other thing to remember too, though, is depending upon your background in TikTok, it could also maybe identify where you're located, right? Like if you're doing a TikTok on the street and there's the name of your street, a street sign, or your address to your home, or, so that's what's really important, is sometimes your background of what it is you're doing on your TikTok or any video can sometimes also highlight where you are located in the world, right? So those are other things to be aware of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What happens if you remove the chip from your phone with all the data on it?
Go for it.
Well, I mean, your phone would not be able to work. I mean, especially today. I mean, it used to be computers. You would have your system, and then you have all your data storage on another drive. But today, with what's known as system on a chip, everything is being built into one mechanism. So to remove one removes everything, and that's because we want things smaller, and I think that's the challenge.
Yeah, the other thing too is to understand that even if you remove the chip, the micro USB from your phone, there's still information that is going to be on your phone of things that you've been doing that are still available to, say, a forensic auditor who specializes in doing phone forensics, right? That sometimes they can find that is still built within the phone.
Yeah, some phones, like Android phones, have external SD card slots. So yeah, you could remove the SD card slot, but you still have your other system memory, which may very well have caches, memories, history of transactions. So, and then that's, also all the data you have saved on the internet. I mean, that doesn't go away.
Yeah, for sure.
Do game consoles track your location? Yeah, I mean, any device that connects to the internet will broadcast to the public internet roughly where you're located on planet Earth.
Yeah, for sure. And one of my concerns over gaming is everything to do with DDoS attacks, right? Where, and people are kind of doing that because their IP address is available if it's pinged, right? So, one of the things that we say to people who are gaming, if you want to protect your privacy and location a little bit better, is use a VPN, but make sure you use a premium VPN.
Right? VPNs though, especially if you're a competitive gamer, then that will negatively impact your ping.
Now, thankfully though, that most of the young ones who are getting involved in gaming haven't reached that level, and so from a safety standpoint, I do think, and especially when it comes to preventing game rage and DDoSing and all those other kind of things that go on in gaming, stealthing your IP address by using a VPN is not such a bad thing.
Mm-hmm. Is the charger in a public place, is there a chance it will have a virus in it? Yeah, actually, there was a couple news reports. Well, actually, there were some news reports. I think it was the FBI who shared that.
Juice jacking.
Yeah, and it was a very interesting public social media post because the threat and challenge of what's known as a juice jack, you plug your phone into a public charger that it's going to steal your data. Well, that is difficult. A lot of phones, modern phones, have built-in security. Before your phone will send data to anything, you have to enter your passcode first. So, is it theoretically possible? Yes. Is it financially advantageous for someone to build a station that harvests your data and put it in an airport or something? Are they going to be able to do that? It's going to be unlikely. Theoretically, it is possible, but unlikely. The best solution, whenever you're wanting to charge your device, bring your own wall charger. Statistically, you're probably not going to have problems plugging your phone into a public charger, but just bring your own charger.
Depending upon where it is. Like a good example, if I'm at a country fair is a good example, and there's a booth that is being set up to do free phone charging, probably wouldn't do it there, right?
But statistically, like, the probability for someone to have the technical expertise to deploy that, to make themselves vulnerable, to be caught on camera, having to wheel in this station, I mean, the risk to the hacker is going to be incredibly large, and the payoff may not be that big.
Yeah, but we said the same thing about doing some of the jacking that's going on over ATM machines now, and putting, the fake covers over them using Bluetooth technology. And,
well, that's because the payoff's bigger.
It is for sure, but it still is possible. I mean, I'm the paranoia of the company, right? Where I'm kind of thinking, like, is it best practice to use a free charging station? I would say no. Best practice would be bring your own charger or have your own spare battery that you can use to charge. But
I have seen some chargers now that are the wireless charging.
Yeah, for sure.
So, like most modern phones, you just put your phone on a wireless charger and it charges your phone wirelessly. And I mean, that doesn't send data.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that could be an
that we know of.
alternative. Well, not that I've seen.
Yeah,
I mean,
for sure.
I'm sure Apple will come up with something to get around the USB-C law.
Yeah.
But anyways, good question though. Topical.
Yeah.
How can we connect with you? We are on a lot of different social networks. I mean, we have our Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. We have an email contact form on our website.
Facebook.
Yeah, we have
email. We have a toll-free cell phone number that you can find on our website, where you can contact us anywhere in the world toll-free. So a variety of different ways. We make it as possible as we can for people to connect with us for free, right? If they need to.
What social media do you not recommend?
I mean, that's going to be case specific to individuals. I mean, however, there are some sites, places like Omegle is a good example, where the risks on those sites can far outweigh some of the gains. Now, having said that, there, on Omegle, there are some people doing things that are kind of cool. But, if you go to Omegle and you go on there for about a minute, within a minute, you're seeing nudity and stuff that you shouldn't be seeing, right? So, some of the streaming platforms, the open streaming platforms, I would be a little concerned about. But again, it's up to the individual. So
yeah. If you're on a social network and it's designed to spread viruses, hatred, and other bad content, then it's probably not the best one for you to be using.
Exactly.
Can websites or apps like YouTube track you even if you're not logged in? Oh, yeah, definitely. It won't be able to track you as much. The moment you log into something, then it's tracking everything, what you're saying, where you're going, who you're connecting with. If you're connecting to a website without logging into it, it will still have information like your IP address, maybe cookie information, your browser ID. So it will have information and history about you, but it won't be as detailed.
Well, I forget what it is. You'll remember what it is. But there was an incident, I think it was in Ontario, where a mall, as soon as you walked into a mall, it was like pinging your phone if your phone was on, and it could basically track you in the mall.
Yeah, phones do emit let's say a unique identifier just by its make and broadcasting signals from your device. So that could be captured, yes. So yeah, there are ways to track people even if they don't log in. Just a little more difficult.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't it good to have the location on your photos if you need help, like for 911?
Well, if you need help for 911, you just hit 911 on your cell phone, and then they can ping your address, right?
Yeah, on your phone with location services, you can choose which services can use your location.
Yeah.
So, like maybe your map app That's probably a reasonable app to know your location. I mean, yeah, you're sharing with Google, but or Apple, but you can disable your location on like your Snapchat, Facebooks, Instagrams, TikToks. So you choose what you want to have access.
Exactly.
What do you do if a random person makes hate videos about you?
Go for it.
Number one is report. So someone distributing hate on the internet is, well, most likely in violation of the terms and service of the network they're using. Can very likely be breaking one, if not many different laws, depending on what they're saying and what they're doing. So record it, report it, and show it to somebody who can help you, assist you, and get that taken down.
And don't engage, right? Like, don't feed the trolls. Right?
Yeah, usually when you engage with that usually sparks them to come back with more and more and
Exactly.
more and more.
Yeah, exactly.
Should we put private documents in the cloud? That is a risk that you'll have to make for yourself. There is some good reasons as to why to put documents in the clouds, primarily for backups. Let's say where you're living burns down. Okay, all your stuff is gone forever. But if it's backed up on the cloud, it's not like it's going to be gone forever.
And
so,
just help people. What is the cloud, Brandon? Like, it's not this magical thing that's floating in the air, right?
An online server, an online network that you're backing up your documents.
Exactly.
My recommendation is if you're going to store documents in the cloud for backup purposes, make sure the cloud service you are using has proper security, proper encryption, ideally no knowledge-based encryption, so even the service doesn't know what you have saved on their network. That would be my recommendation. But understand there is always that small potential risk. Let's say someone scams you for your password, they log in and get your documents. But there is a reason why to have things backed up.
For sure.
So it's a balancing act. How can we trust you?
I mean, it's like anything else. I mean, how do you trust anybody? Well, you trust them based upon what other people say about you, what their backgrounds are, how open and honest they are with individuals. So that's what trust comes down to. Do I expect people who've never heard us before reach out to us and trust us immediately? No. I mean, trust is earned, right? Yeah. It truly is. But, through things that we do, both online and offline, our goal is to build trust and relationships in order to help individuals who are in trouble and need help.
Yeah, I think in terms of when we're actually helping and providing information to students, we try to tackle challenges from multi approaches. So we will use research, we will use our experience, we'll bring other people's experience, we'll use their testimonials, we'll bring logic, evidence, reason. So that we normally, when we talk about a subject, we're bringing in multiple modalities of evidence to convince somebody that what we're saying is probably better than others.
That was well said. That's a tip of my hat to you. Well said. Yeah.
But ultimately, you get to evaluate what we say.
Yeah, for sure.
If you have other proof, we'd love to see it. So, everything you write on any social platform will be saved forever. It's a possibility. That's the thing.
I always say make the assumption it is.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, make the assumption that what it is that you're posting online is going to be there potentially forever. Right? Because even if you delete something, what if somebody else has screen captured it before you delete it and then repost it, right?
Or if it's a public, then you got the Wayback Machine.
Exactly.
So, or even if you delete something from a network, although it may not be publicly available to everybody else, the network may have a copy in a backup or a cache that is still saved there. So I think, assume it could be there forever.
Exactly. And that's the thing. I stress this again, before you hit that send button, you need to understand that what you just posted can become public, permanent, searchable, exploitable, copyable, shareable, and sometimes sold to the financial benefit of these social media platforms that we're all using, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Can others exploit what you say on sites or apps that isn't exactly posted online or sent to another person?
Sure. Why couldn't they? right?
Yeah,
Like,
I think I
right?
understand the question.
Can others exploit what you say on sites or apps? Yeah, I mean, you can be misquoted all the time. It happens to us where people will misquote us or take a small snippet out of a larger contextual issue we're talking about and say, "Look at this," when in fact it was taken totally out of context.
Or
Right?
somebody takes a quote from somebody else, but they think it was us.
Yeah, exactly.
That happens.
That happens more often than not, right? So
Yeah. So
Or-
yeah, it's possible.
where we say that's not us, that was somebody else, right? So.
What is the dark web and why is it so dangerous?
I'll answer that. When we think of the internet, a lot of us, I want you to think of it much like an iceberg, right? You see the tip of the iceberg that everybody sees. That's what we call the light web or the surface web. That's what Google and all the other search engines index. The biggest part of the internet is what we call the deep web. That's what's below the surface that you don't see, right? And the deep web, a smaller component of that is the dark web. Now, are there some cool things that happen in the deep web? Sure there are. That's where a lot of, like universities and doctors will index things, research and all that kind of stuff. So there's some cool things. Once you get into the dark web, those are places that you're more likely to come across issues that just aren't cool, right? They're criminal in nature, like child pornography, just all kinds of horrible, evil, ugly things. And the other things that we recommend, because more and more teens are becoming more interested in the dark and deep web because of its mystique, right?
Well, also because of its somewhat level of privacy compared to surveillance and tyranny and censorship.
That's true. But, one of the things I say to young people and even adults is before you go into, especially the dark web, you got to make sure that you have proper hardware and software in place to protect yourselves, right?
Yes.
So, yeah. So how do apps save your information and how do they save what you watch, like or watch?
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
The servers. So apps will phone back home to the main server where all the data is hosted. I mean, the way to think about it is an app on your phone, like say TikTok, the entirety of TikTok is not saved on your phone. Your phone couldn't handle all that data. So all of that's offloaded to a external computer that's filled with drives and storage that hosts all the videos we watch. So it sends those videos, streams it through the internet to you to watch. Yeah. So because of that, that's how it knows your information, because you have to connect to its external computer, which is then also recording what you're watching, doing, and saying.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Next one.
Does TikTok see your private videos? Yeah, when you upload a private video to a private TikTok channel where you only share the videos with your close friends, well, yeah, TikTok has those videos saved in their big, massive server, and they can see the videos, they can transcribe them, make sure they follow their policies. Even private videos can get you banned off TikTok.
Right. And the issue here is that TikTok and all the other social media platforms now, given the development in generative AI, are now scanning those things and using them in their algorithms to help them decide what type of media to push out to you, right? Mm-hmm. So that's the other issue to be aware of.
How do you know a link will grab your IP address when you click on it?
Because it needs to in order to communicate with you, right?
Every website, app, or online program you connect into needs to connect and get information from your computer. It talks to your IP address, and you talk to the other computer's IP address, and because that's how computers talk to each other, at the basic explanation of how computers work.
Right.
So the question is, some websites will not keep that on a record.
No, but they're still grabbing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're not going to know because it always happens.
They are, right?
Is online safety a bigger problem in the US or Canada?
I'll answer that one. You know what's interesting about the internet? It doesn't recognize any international boundaries, right? So, those issues when it comes to digital literacy and internet safety apply equally right around the world.
Yeah.
Right? They truly do, right? The issues that we see happening in the United States or Australia or Ireland or Great Britain are identical to what we see happening to youth and adults here in Canada.
I do think the one difference, I think, could be privacy.
Correct.
Because we're looking
I would agree
at
with that comment.
Commonwealth-based countries have
much higher standards when it comes to online privacy issues.
Yes, what you can and cannot do with someone else's information.
Exactly.
So I think, but everybody has the same security problems and the risk. but level of what people can do with your information, laws do
Different.
change.
Yeah, and there's no doubt in the United States, like if you get somebody's name and maybe an email address or a cell phone number, you can track it to an address. You can't do that legally.
Very difficult.
Yeah, here in Canada,
Yeah.
right? So.
How can the internet affect how you see yourself?
That is where see, this is very interesting. There's be some really good research over the past couple of years now is looking at issues surrounding how you compare yourselves to others, right? And so this is especially true for age groups between grade 6 to grade 9, they're finding, especially with those who identify as female teen girls. And it happens to teen boys as well, don't get me wrong. However, that's where you start comparing yourself to somebody else going, I wished I looked like that. But the issue here is that given a lot of morphing technology and filters and software out there, sometimes when you're comparing yourself to somebody online, the way they look, that's not necessarily how they may look in the real world because they've morphed themselves and changed their looks, right?
Yeah.
So body comparison issues has become a challenge, right? Especially for younger people between about grade 6 to grade 8, 9.
Could definitely provide a false sense of reality.
Correct. Yeah, for sure.
If you're not grounded to know what the truth is, then definitely it can negatively impact things like mental health and well-being. How exactly does incognito work? And when, if all, should someone be using it?
Go for it.
Yeah, incognito or private browsing mode.
Which is owned by Google.
Well, Google calls it incognito, and then all the other programs call it private browsing mode. And how it works is essentially your browser will have a history of where you go, what you do on the internet. Incognito just automatically prevents that from being recorded. I mean, you could, without incognito, go into your browser and delete your history. You could do that. It just automatically does it from the beginning. The problem is that, sure, someone comes and looks at your computer. They don't see where you've been, but remember, your computer has to share information to the networks, apps, and programs you connect into, and they can keep their own record of history of what you do and say. So incognito, people think it will make you anonymous on the internet.
No.
That's really only maybe half true, because yes, it will delete what's on your end. It doesn't delete what's on the other end.
Correct.
So,
and I think the other issue with incognito, where would I use it? Whenever we're using the internet, you're starting to create, if you're using a Google Chrome as a good example, you're starting to create a digital profile of yourself, this filter bubble. So if you truly want to see what the internet knows about you, then turning on incognito removes that filter bubble, so you will see exactly what others who are maybe searching your name are going to see about you.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah, or if you're searching something more sensitive in nature, maybe you want to get a second opinion on medical advice. Maybe,
yeah, exactly.
Maybe that you want to make sure you don't get stuck into a bubble.
Yeah, but just understand though that although you're in incognito mode, your internet service provider is still going to record where you're going and what you're doing, right?
Yeah, it has a purpose, but definitely to be truly anonymous on the internet, incognito is only a small portion of the tools you need to be more anonymous on the internet. Mm-hmm. Why do people let these bad things happen?
Sometimes I find it's because of lack of information. Like they don't know, because common knowledge is only common if you know about it, right? And so that's why we're big believers in education, because education helps you to make an informed decision before you hit that send button. But, the other issue here is that there are people who just want to do bad things. That's where they get their satisfaction. These trolls, these haters who like to do that kind of stuff.
And
right?
the honest truth is, why do bad things happen offline? Why do people still let that happen? Well, people are actively working to prevent that, but realistically, there's not enough resources to stop every little bad thing from happening. Mm-hmm. If we could do that, that'd be kind of cool, but financially, you can't.
And we say consistently that most teens and youth that we deal with are doing super cool and creative things. They really are. And we older adults, we need to start acknowledging that fact. Only a small percentage of them aren't. But our goal here is to provide the information and knowledge to teens and even adults, so before they hit that send button, they can make that informed decision.
Yeah. If you delete an account, is it still searchable?
Could be.
It could be. So if you have a public account, well, it could have been copied or scanned by an online archiving system. If you delete it and it was a private account, I mean, it could still be searchable within the server internally from the account or social network that you were using. So,
I mean, you mentioned it earlier, good example, the Wayback Machine, right?
yeah.
If what you've posted was indexed by the internet, well, then it's likely going to be captured by the Wayback Machine. And I mean, as online investigators, we use that all the time, where somebody had a website, but they deleted the website, but it was still captured by the Wayback Machine. So if you go back, you can still see what was in their website, right?
If someone asks you to hack a computer, is that breaking the law? Ooh, good question. So, for perspective, good security professional, good hackers, they do hack computers with permission in order to find flaws. But normally that's based on contracts, signed agreements. So
Consent,
consent.
who owns the device, you know, there's all kinds of facts. I mean, we can't answer that question in a black and white yes or no answer, right? You can't, it's going to be context specific.
Yeah, if someone's asking you to hack their own computer and it's not a scam, you've proven it's them, and there's contracts, agreements, and things are signed, then yes, you can break into that computer because they've contractually allowed you to do that.
Right.
So if someone just says, yeah, you can hack me, they can come back and say to police going, you hacked me, but you said I could. Prove it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it gets messy. So
well, go ahead and hack me, and here's my computer. But it turns out not to be their computer.
Right? Oh, they set you up. Ooh,
yeah, exactly, right?
Yeah. So fundamentally, yes, but there's a lot more to that.
Yeah, for sure.
What happens if a hacker takes over a family member's account and you think it's okay to give them information? Well, that's a great scenario, and I don't have a strong answer because you are going to assume that your family, people that you've added as friends, are people who they actually are. Yeah. So if they get breached or hacked, then you're not going to know about it.
I mean, our standard answer is never pay a ransom, right? Like, don't do it, right? Because in most cases, they're going to come back for more money. However, again, it's going to be situational dependent. Like, we know some companies that got hit with ransomware, and because those companies didn't back up their data to ensure that if they ever got attacked, that they would still have it. If they didn't pay the ransom, then their company would go out of business, right? So again, it's going to be case specific, but in most cases, we recommend that you shouldn't be paying any kind of ransom that these people
if they're asking for money to recover the account. If a family member's account is acting differently than what you would expect, I think maybe contact a family member on a different platform going, hey, you sent me this message. Is this you? Were you hacked? Because sometimes that can happen. And I think that's one of the ways hackers try to achieve their scams is they will hack somebody you know, use their account, using their persona to convince you to share information. So that's hard to defend against because you are relying on the family member to have proper security in place. And you can't always guarantee that.
Yeah.
What do you do if you send a photo to someone that you thought that you trusted and they put it online without your permission?
I'm going to answer that one. It depends upon the picture, right? Like if it's an intimate image or video and then they send it to somebody else without your consent, then they're breaking the law. They're breaking federal law under a couple of cases under the criminal code and most state laws around the world as well. But if it's a non-intimate image, then in most cases, if they decide to take it and share it with others, it's not necessarily going to be illegal unless they're using it in a defamatory or libelous way. Yeah. Then you could go after them civilly for those types of issues. Yeah. So again, context and the type of picture you're talking about, but I think this is probably based upon the presentation we do on specific to online nudes, intimate images, and that kind of stuff. So. And here in the province of British Columbia, we now also have provincial law, the new law. It's called the Intimate Images Protection Act now, right? Where not only could it be illegal criminally at a federal level where you could be arrested and charged and even convicted, you can now be held accountable civilly, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
What if a hacker copies your voice?
I'll answer that one as well. We just had a couple of incidences of that happen here in our country. There was an individual who was arrested in Newfoundland just recently, where because of the new artificial intelligence, what they did was they took a family member's voice because they found that the family member was going away on holidays. They found a video of the family member, and all you need now is about 3 seconds of a soundbite in order to create artificial intelligence, to create a voice that has the same volume and inflection and tonality as yours. And then what they did was they used that to a grandparent, basically to say, hey, listen, grandma, I'm in trouble. I need help. I'm in jail right now. I need some bail money. I don't have it. Can you help me out? And the grandparents, thinking that it was the person because it sounded just like them, sent the money, right? And now what's getting scary is they are now combining the voice artificial intelligence with now the video and video, so it looks like the real person. So these are one of the issues surrounding AI that is now taking place, because there's all kinds of cool stuff, and I think AI is going to do some amazing things, especially when it comes to issues surrounding medicine and other issues. But with any good tool, it can also be weaponized, right? And so this is a good example.
I think for everyone's general safety is not to verify somebody just by voice anymore.
Yeah, and this is interesting, right? Because a lot of companies now, like a good example, Shaw, right? A lot of telecommunication companies, when you phone their tech support, they're using voice identifying technology to identify who you are, right? So now what can happen is that these hackers can now do that and make it sound like you, and their voice recognition identifies as you. Now they're into your personal account. So I actually think that AI has now blown up voice identifying technology that a lot of companies, even some banks, are now using to do verifications, right? So disruption, right? Like it's amazing. Having said that, there's some cool things that can happen.
In games on the App Store, do you lose progress on App Store games when you move to a new device? It's possible. It depends on how the game was designed. Some games will store your progress locally on your phone, so you have to make sure when you go to a new phone, you actually port the game in its entirety over. Now, a lot of games, what they do is that your online progress will be saved in the cloud on a server somewhere, so you can connect. But yeah, it is possible if the game only stores your data locally. You got to make sure you transfer that over with your new device. Why do hackers hack? Well, money.
That's like saying, how much wood can a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? Say that 100 times, right? I mean, there are good hackers, white hat hackers, and there are black hat hackers, bad hackers, right? So it just depends. But a lot of them, sometimes they're doing it just because they want to cause mischief and cause, they're very Machiavellian in nature, wanting to cause harm emotionally, psychologically, and physically. And then there are others that are doing them for good causes, right?
Mm-hmm. Can I tell who is hacking me if I get hacked? Theoretically, it's possible. Realistically, unlikely. Unless you have the skills, tools, and knowledge to trace and find that information, then yeah, you could, but most people don't have that expertise.
Yeah, exactly.
Unless it was literally a friend trying to prank you, going, haha, I pranked you and I hacked you, haha. Okay, literally, you said who you were.
Yeah.
Unlikely you're going to. When we buy something online, like on an app, does the company have our personal information?
Yep.
It depends on what the app is. Typically, when you buy something, you do have to send your billing information, your name, address, phone number. They won't have your credit card number on file because they usually use a payment processor that is the middle person that kind of makes that anonymous.
But they still could.
If the app was designed and they were manually entering in the credit card information when you send it, then they have the credit card data, but then they're using a non-official processor, which is a whole other problem. But majority of things you buy on the internet, yes, they will have your billing information on file because they need to track that to either send you something, send you an invoice, or maybe legally to contact you if there's a problem.
Exactly.
So yeah, they do. Unless, of course, using a fake name, fake email, fake phone number, using a prepaid credit card, then you are intentionally preventing that.
We never do that.
Prepaid credit cards? I don't have any of those. Will I be in trouble if someone pressured me into sending a nude when I didn't want to?
I'm going to answer that question. No. Right? Like the only way, no, the law is quite clear in Canada and most countries that, if you were pressured into sending nude against your will, then you're not going to be held criminally responsible for what it is that you did, right? And so therein lies one of the problems that we face sometimes, is because there still are individuals that are telling teens, especially in Canada, hey, listen, if you send a nude, no matter what reason, you've just broken the law and you can be arrested for the possession and distribution of child pornography under the age of 18. And the Supreme Court of Canada said, no, that's not true, right? So again, the answer to that question is probably not.
Mm-hmm. What do you do if someone you love owns a nude of you and you fear it will get exposed, but you also don't want them to face any charges?
Yeah, I'll answer that one as well. Ask them to delete it, right? So ask them to delete it, number one, and then say to them, hey, listen, the other thing you can say is legally here in our country, in Canada, I can speak to Canada, if you failed to delete that nude upon my request, the Supreme Court of Canada has strongly suggested that you're now breaking the law and you're now in possession of child pornography if you're under the age of 18, because, the Supreme Court has basically suggested that consent can be withdrawn at any time specific to these issues. So do you really want to face those charges, right? And because a lot of people believe, well, if you sent it to me, I now own it. Right? Well,
first off, that's not how copyright works.
That's right. And number two, the Supreme Court of Canada said no, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
What happens if someone sent an intimate image from the United States to Canada?
Well, I'm going to answer that one as well. Well, if it's illegal in that state, see, state law applies. In Canada, we have one criminal code that applies to all our provinces and territories. What's interesting about the United States is each state has its own law on this issue. So what's legal?
We also have the population of just California.
That's
though.
true. But what's legal in Washington State may not be in Texas or New York, right? So so if a person is sending an intimate image from the United States, then U.S. law is going to apply, but it can also apply here in Canada as well, because they could be breaking Canadian law depending upon what they're saying. But usually it depends upon the state.
What you do on the internet is based on the legal area that you're currently online in. So basically, whatever state you're located in, you're bound by your state law.
To a degree. I mean, a really good example is there's a teen in Ontario who was sending threats to the LGBTQ community in Florida anonymously, or at least that's what he thought. He was actually waving a gun in his hand while he was doing it as well. Florida state was able to track him to the point where he was now arrested in Canada, and U.S. law enforcement is attempting to extradite him now to the United States.
Yeah, but they were also breaking the law in Canada by doing that. So, I mean, the scenario would be if someone in Canada is what they're doing online isn't breaking U.S. law, well then, I mean, there is agreements between countries that if you break your law in one area, you can bring someone over to face charges.
Right. And
that's a very complicated thing to do, though.
And also understand that what's illegal in a state in the United States may not be illegal here in Canada, and vice versa.
Yeah.
Right. So.
Internet across international boundaries is a complicated subject.
Yeah, for sure.
Hence why everyone's trying to restrict it and have their own internet.
Mm-hmm.
Can you send a nude when you're under age of 18 and intoxicated?
That's an interesting question.
I have not seen that yet in courts.
No.
We can make educated guess.
Yeah. I would think that intoxication kind of removes informed consent.
Yes. Same with traditional intimacy.
Right. When it comes to sexual assault, human touch to touch, rather than intoxication, levels of intoxication withdraws or it cancels out informed consent, right? So.
That would be our educated guess. Of course, we're not lawyers, although we work with lawyers, we work with police, we read all the court cases. We've yet to see a court case on that particular subject, but I would bet to guess that would be how it would be handled.
Yeah.
Is using cheats in an online game illegal? No, not inherently. It depends. I mean, it depends on what you're doing. If you're actually having to break into the game server and hack in directly to the company, well then that's a hack. That's illegal. If you have to break someone else's computer to achieve the hack, the cheat, then yes. But if it's just a flaw in the code in the game and you're exploiting that, well then no, not inherently illegal.
Yeah. The question is it moral or ethical, which is a totally different discussion, right? But illegal, probably not.
Is it okay to screenshot text messages, like if the text is inappropriate or makes you uncomfortable?
Go for it, dude.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we recommend that. I mean, especially if someone's sending you something they know is wrong, not right, inappropriate, breaking the law, harassing, any of those like things that can get them in serious trouble to hold them accountable. Yeah, record that as evidence, because there's always that potential that some text messaging apps out there can allow somebody to delete their message off your phone. So you go, hey, here's what they said to me. It was here a second ago because they deleted it. So if you have a screenshot of it, you keep that as proof. So yes, it's recommended you take a picture of that for your evidence.
Mm-hmm.
Is it illegal to take a picture or someone else's phone if it's a private conversation and they don't know?
I'm going to answer that one. It depends. So a really good example. Let's say you're looking over somebody's shoulder and they're consensually sharing intimate images with one another, and you go over their shoulder and go take a picture of that intimate image. Is that illegal? Yep, because you're now in possession without consent, right? So,
well, let's assume it is not an intimate image. Maybe it's a private conversation. You're talking to, I don't know, your doctor about something private and personal.
Well, if you take that and then weaponize it, post it and weaponize it, then it potentially could be illegal.
You know, I don't know. I have seen court cases, at least here in Canada, it could go either way.
Correct.
Because there could be a breach of privacy, and we do have privacy laws. However, if it's out in public, but yet courts have said in certain situations you do have a right to privacy in public. So I actually don't have a solid answer on that.
I would think that, again, people hate it when we say this, but it's true. Context is everything when it comes to the law. Like, too many people think that the law is black and white when it's not. It's all shades of gray, right? So context of the case and how that is being, the screen capture is going to be used is kind of going to dictate, is it legal, illegal? Is it civilly liable? It all comes down to context.
There is a section of interception of digital communications in the criminal code.
Yeah, but I think that section is specific to actually intercepting the communications en route via hard or Wi-Fi or stuff like that. I don't think it applies to somebody who's looking over your shoulder, say.
Oh, it would apply. Let's say someone gets your password, logs in, and they get those messages.
Yes, right. Or let's say I'm over somebody's shoulder without them knowing, and I got my thing or my camera going, and I see them entering their password to get into their social media platform, which I've captured. Now, what do? An hour later, I go into that social media platform. I've got their passcode, so I go in, I enter that passcode. I now have access. That is illegal.
Yeah, right? But then that's unauthorized use, though.
Yeah, right?
But
so, again, context.
If the
right?
message is public, I don't know. I don't know.
Is it public? Is it public? Again, context. If the conversations are of the sharing of intimate images, and I'm recording that, right?
Yeah, that's a whole because that falls into the intimate image law, and that's completely different.
Right. So, but if what it is they're doing is not contained under legal consequences, then is it illegal for them to record that and to repost it? But it depends.
There's a thing. What is that? Where someone's in their private dwelling and you are recording them from the street. There are laws around that.
Depends, right? Again, it all depends, right? Context is everything on what it is you're screen capturing.
I tend to side that what you do in public is public.
Yes.
But there have been cases where certain activities there is expectation of privacy.
Yeah.
Because you don't expect, if you have your phone out in public, you're not expecting people to be looking at your phone.
Or a good example.
You have an expectation of privacy.
I mean, a good example. If you're in a public bathroom, in a stall, sitting on a toilet, doing number 1 or number 2, and then you're on the other stall and you got your phone over top.
Yes.
Right? Like there's an expectation.
That has been clearly defined by the courts.
Exactly.
That although you're in a public restroom, you have an expectation of privacy in that
context,
stall.
right? Context of the incident is going to be key.
But do you have an expectation of privacy on what you're doing on your screen in public?
Depends.
Because it's between you and the screen.
Depends. right? It really depends, in my opinion.
I mean, I would say I've seen like TikToks where people are in like an auditorium in a classroom, like at a lecture hall, and they have their laptop open, and they're like, "What's on your screen?" They kind of record behind them to see and make them embarrass the person and what they're doing on their screen.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you have a big screen, you have people behind you. I would assume you have no expectation of privacy there. But if you have your little tiny phone and you're like you're on public and someone in like a balcony looks over and like records you, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
That's a good question. Thank you for the question. That took longer to answer than we would like, but thank you for the question. I don't know. It's a good question.
Context.
Yeah. Why did you guys make a TikTok? Have you read their terms of service and the information they collect?
Yeah. Yeah, we have. So we've made an informed decision as to how and why we do our TikToks, right?
Yeah.
So again, there's a lot of blustering going on over TikTok, and I think it's basically being used as a political weapon. Does TikTok have its issues when it comes to privacy challenges? Sure, it does. Much like any other platform, Instagram,
Facebook, Cambridge Analytica.
I mean, it's just out there, right? So again, it comes to understanding how we're using TikTok and what we're doing with TikTok.
It's not like we're using TikTok on our account for personal private things. We're
That's
not
right.
posting private videos. And the videos we post are curated, edited, and designed to serve a purpose.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Should young people in elementary school, should they have access to technology?
Managed, mitigated access? Sure. I mean, technology today is ubiquitous. It's all around us. And if the goal here is to provide students with skills that are going to benefit them as they get older, then teaching good digital literacy and internet safety is important. And the only way to do that is to allow them to have the technology to do that. But again, it should be age appropriate and mitigated.
Yeah, unmanaged technological use in the classroom can most certainly cause problems.
Yes.
Most definitely, but managed, designed to serve a purpose, well, then I see nothing inherently wrong with that.
No. And, because technology is so ubiquitous and a part of who we are today in this, what we call the online world, then teaching digital literacy skills at younger ages to help create resiliency in the use of technology as they get older is important when it comes to education. But again, it should be managed, right?
Yeah.
It shouldn't be like an open range, free for all, here you go, woohoo! Right? Like we shouldn't be doing that. And, at elementary levels, should they be using technology during breaks or during recess or during lunch? No, I don't think they should unless they're in a class doing something, right? They should be out there enjoying one another, right? And interacting and learning interpersonal skills in a face-to-face real world situation, right?
Yeah. Is AI harmful?
I'll answer that. It could be, right? But it's this new generative AI and what's going on with AI, a lot of people think it's going to turn into Terminator, right? Where the machines are going to take control of the world. And, there was a huge media thing just a couple of weeks ago where I think it was over 100 AI scientists said that AI is going to cause everybody in the world to die, right? Like it's the apocalypse upon us, where most people are saying no. But it's like any other technology. It has its strength. Yeah, it could. It's like any other technology. It has its good, it has its bads. Here's what's scary about it right now, though, is that it's in its infancy, and what these companies are doing is they're using us as the guinea pigs to train it, right? Which I have a problem with, right? Like before they release
anybody
something.
like you're in school and you're learning how to engage with the world. You're using your classmates as guinea pigs to learn how to engage with the world.
Yeah.
Any brain needs to use the environment.
But they're doing it to their financial benefit, not understanding some of the consequences of doing so.
Yeah, but isn't the person developing with their brain learning how to engage with people for their own financial benefit in order to get a job?
I think you're kind of comparing apples to oranges here, right? Because
I'm assuming AI is a neural network. I'm comparing AI brain to a human brain.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's getting close, right? Like they have now found, some current research has now found, we wrote an article on this, by the way, that the nodes that are in AI are almost identical now in numbers to what is in the human brain, right? And it is now, AI is now being able to compute things far faster than the human brain can actually do, right?
Yeah.
But the problem with AI is humans, we have morals, we have ethics. Machines don't have those.
Oh, you're assuming they can't develop it.
Yes,
I mean,
I'm assuming
does
that, but it doesn't at this point in time.
Does a worm have morals and ethics?
We don't know.
I don't know.
We don't know. Right now, where the hell did that come from?
I'm just trying to compare an AI neural network to organic neural networks.
Yeah, it's just I think that AI can be harmful. It can be used in a negative way. A good example, we mentioned earlier how it was being used to create scams, right?
Yeah, true.
And crimes. But however, it can also be used to solve some of the mysteries of the world, like cancer issues, right? Some of the things that AI is able to do, right? So again, it depends upon how it's being used.
Yeah, I mean, I've always said I want a Star Trek holodeck.
Yeah.
How is that possible without generative AI?
Yeah, I know.
In order
That'd
to
be
get
cool.
that, you need generative AI.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
That is the stepping stone.
That'd be cool. Yeah, that'd be cool.
Just make sure safety protocols are on.
Exactly. Yeah.
The new Star Treks are good, though.
I know. The new Picard. Did you watch the latest Picard series?
Yeah.
Oh, it was good.
That was good.
It was good.
And then New Worlds comes out this season 2 this month.
Yeah.
No, next month. Yeah.
People ask me what's my I actually like Star Trek series better than the Star Wars series, to be very honest with you, right?
I do too.
Now Mandalorian, however, is pretty cool. I like Mandalorian.
I think Star Wars is moving into more of like the Star Trek-y things. They're kind of moving away from the Space Wizards.
Yeah.
Because it's not quite sci-fi.
I feel like your partner, we're on this tangent right now.
What? I'm just saying. I prefer, even if it's pseudo-science, I prefer that over Space Wizards.
Yeah.
Because that's...
Yeah, no, I've always loved Star Trek more so than Star Wars.
I'm glad it's a new renaissance of Star Trek.
Yeah.
Anyways, back on track. Why is there so many government documents being shared around on Discord?
I think that has to do with the latest incident in the United States.
Because some people don't understand digital literacy.
Exactly.
Tracking, surveillance, and what it means to have top secret clearance.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't think that's really necessarily the government. Well, maybe it is government not necessarily training their staff properly on it's secret. It's secret. Yeah. Yeah, that's why.
And it is harder to search things on Discord, right? Like that's the other issue. Discord does give you a little bit more anonymity. It's not as searchable as some of the other social media platforms, but
yeah, it's not like you can go on Google and find what's being talked about in a particular Discord server. But Discord is, I guess, more of a deep web technology.
Yeah,
it's not like all Discord servers are publicly searchable and all the content. But once you're in there, you can find what you want.
Exactly.
And obviously, Discord saves everything unencrypted on their servers. So
unencrypted.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually,
did I say unencrypted?
Actually, I gotta. When we talk about Discord and unencryption, we get a lot of students be like, "Oh, really? Yeah, Discord scans private servers to make sure you're following the rules, policies, and the law."
Yeah.
Oh, they do that? Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of young people don't know too is that both in Canada and the United States, all internet service vendors are required by law to report any kind of child sexual abuse material, right? Like they're required by law to do that. Mm-hmm. So that means they're scanning, right?
Yeah. How long is it okay to be on social media per day?
Yeah, I'll answer that. I think we got to get away from using this term screen time and looking at it and calling it what we call digital activity. So it depends upon what they're doing, right? Like if they're using social media in a creative way to spark thought, communications, developing issues, that's what's good for the brain, right?
Yeah.
But if all they're doing is passively engaging in social media,
getting sucked into 2 hours of TikTok,
right?
Was that me yesterday? Maybe,
right? Like that, and that's okay to do every so often. Like we all need to bubble gum every so often, right? Like it's okay. But if you're constantly doom scrolling and passively scrolling on your social media for hours and hours and hours of each day, that's not necessarily good for you. So that's why we like to say it's not how much time you spend online, it's what you're doing with that time online that's really important.
Yeah. what type of laptop do you have?
I have a MacBook Pro.
Yeah, same here. So our main day-to-day devices are MacBooks.
However, what's your PC? What the PC that we use, say, to power what it is that we're doing right now? In your office, it looks like a miniature nuclear plant.
Yeah.
But what are some of the? It's a PC, right? And what are some of the tech? What are some of the?
Well, right now.
Yeah. Or what is it soon to be? Because I know that we're going to upgrade.
Well,
sure,
currently,
some of the techie kids that are watching us right now are going to love this.
Currently, we have a Ryzen 9 3000. Although we just purchased a Threadripper Pro because we need more threads because we input a lot of visual data onto the lanes.
Yeah.
So it will be a Threadripper Pro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it looks like a small nuclear plant, basically what you got. Now, did you get a water cooler for the new system, or did you just go with fans?
Nah, I just went with a Noctua air cooler because it's not like we're overclocking and pushing the system for like 3D animation gaming.
Right.
We just need it for the threads.
Yeah. Yeah, I kid you not. His office looks like a small nuclear plant.
Which we are kind of redoing this summertime,
Yeah,
and that's going to be a week-long dismantling project.
But it's going to be cool about what we can do with it once it's done.
Yeah. Will there be rogue AI?
Yeah, I think, is there rogue code? Yeah, sure there is. Is there going to be rogue AI? Yeah, I think there's going to be rogue AI as well, right? Are there going to be people that are going to develop AI to do malicious and criminal things? Sure there are.
And the thing I see is that there's a lot of talk about regulating AI.
How do you do that? Like, if you regulate it here, then people in Russia and China aren't going to.
Actually, I think it was India already publicly announced that they're not going to put any restrictions on AI development. So if you put AI restrictions on North American companies, they're not going to compete as well because unrestricted AI will have a commercial advantage.
Yeah, for sure.
So unless everyone in the world agrees to limit that, good luck with that.
But will there be some rogue AI? Yeah, sure there will. Like we're already seeing it, right? Like there's AI programs out there that will now take a person who is fully clothed and recreate it with them not wearing any clothes.
Yeah.
Right? So
can job recruiters see all texts or just see text? Can they force you to relinquish your text?
No, they can't do that. They can't force you to give them their passcodes to get into your social media accounts. However, if you were involved in a text messaging, like if you and I are text messaging, in most cases it's encrypted. But if the friend now screen captures that stuff and then posts it publicly, well, then that can become a problem. Like Brendan Lipsick with the NHL, right? He was involved in some text messaging that was very misogynistic in nature. And he thought it was private, but a couple of his friends, or what we like to call frenemies, was screen recording what he was saying and then posting it publicly, right? And it became extremely problematic for him. So, yeah, I guess the answer again, it depends. Mm-hmm. Right?
Is technology lowering children's attention spans?
Interesting question, because, when you look at the good evidence-based peer-reviewed research on this, there is some research that says it does, and then there's other research that says it doesn't. The issue here is that when you say children, when I think children, I think those under the age of 13, so preteens, adolescents. I think it does, and the research supports at those younger ages that it does affect attention, right, with those kids. However, when they get older, not necessarily. However, can it become distractive in nature? It certainly can. Okay?
I'm curious as to the blame, though. Is technology lowering the attention span? Is it technology or is it the social norms? Because I'm thinking of TikTok, right? Right now, short form, condensed content is what
king.
Is what we're craving.
Right.
Why would you spend an hour watching a documentary when you can get the gist of it in 30 seconds? Is that more a
or use ChatGPT to look at it and give you a condensed version?
Exactly.
Right.
And what is important? Because I guess socially in today's world, there's a pressure on more and more. You got to do more. You got to learn more. You have to be doing more things at one time.
Yeah.
Is that a technological issue, or is that more of a sociological issue?
Personally, I think it's a combination of both. right?
Technology gives you the opportunity and ability to then make those pressures.
Yeah.
But if we as people agree not to accept those pressures,
Yeah. You know, there was this thing going around that, you know, social media is causing ADHD in kids. Well, no, you're born with ADHD, and all the good evidence-based scientific and medical research supports that fact. However, can young people who are using it show like signs of ADHD or signs similar? Absolutely, they can, right? But so again, it's very interesting that there's research that says yes, there's research that says no. In most cases, it's somewhere in between.
Yeah, if a young person is being raised in an environment that is cognitively focusing on managing technology appropriately, well, I think they're probably going to turn out just fine.
Yeah, I think so as well.
But I think if a young person...
you turned out just fine. Whatever.
Hello. But if a young person's in an environment where they have unrestricted access to anything, whatever they want, even from, you know, the earliest ages, without any restrictions and guidance, could that cause problems?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and in fact, it does cause problems, right? So, yeah. It's all about balance. We keep saying that, right? It all comes down to a balance when it comes to technology, right?
How many presentations do you do in a day?
On average, 3. We do one in the morning, one in the afternoon, one at night. Having said that, Brandon, he's going to love me for this. He's got a day coming up right now where he's got 6 presentations to do in one day.
What?
6. Now, one of those is a video on demand. So, okay, 5, right? So you got 5 live presentations you got. But that's what's really cool.
Time zones are weird.
They're weird, but that's what's cool about using technology to spread our message, because prior to technology, we were limited by travel time, where sometimes, depending upon where we were traveling, we could only do 1 presentation in the day. What's really cool about technology is we can do at least 3, if not more, within a day, so we can reach a wider audience. And what we do virtually is just as good as what it is that we're doing in person. In fact, a lot of schools that saw us pre-COVID in person, who've now seen us doing stuff virtually, they've said we prefer the virtual stuff, and so did the teens, right?
I think because what we do, a lot of people, when you want to learn something new, what do? Go to YouTube.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Well, we want to simulate that, so we are communicating and broadcasting in a way that most people are already accustomed to, learning information from YouTube.
Yeah. And the other thing I find too, what's really funny, is that others out there who, you know, teach what it is that we teach, they really downplay and say that the video stuff is just not as good as the in-person. Well, the reason
do they have a studio?
That's the issue. The issue is the way that they deliver their virtual is nowhere near what it is that we can do using
a webcam Zoom meeting.
Exactly, using a green screen background, and you know, it just, of course, that doesn't work, right? So it's just what we do they're not presentations, they're productions, live productions, which is totally different.
I'm trying to find that day so I can be prepared.
It's coming up soon.
What is better, using data or free Wi-Fi with a VPN? Ooh.
How much money do you have to spend? Right? Like, I mean,
I think I want to say free Wi-Fi VPN, because I'm just assuming, let's say there's a Stingray.
Yeah.
A Stingray is typically a government-funded...
No, it's a car. It's a Corvette.
Oh, haha. A Stingray is a portable cellular tower that intercepts signals. Well, when you send a signal from your phone over the wireless network, typically it could be unencrypted, and then the Stingray could capture that. Free Wi-Fi with a VPN, well, then no one's going to see that except for the VPN. So I would say free Wi-Fi and a VPN.
Now, I would say what is even better is data with a VPN. A premium VPN.
Ah, there we go.
Right? Not a free VPN, but a premium VPN. Yeah. That would be the best, right? So
data with a VPN. I do that. My phone always has a VPN on.
Mine too.
So that's like the perfect solution.
It is.
So, but if I just had to pick the two, Wi-Fi and a VPN. Yeah. I think. Yeah. Might be wrong on that, but I think that's probably the best option, given what was available. What would happen if someone were to impersonate or defame me? How would others know, and how would I deal with this?
Yeah, I'll take a stab at this and then you can follow up. This is going to become harder with AI, with generative AI, right? Where you may think you're talking to your friend when in fact it's not somebody else who's what's going on. Now, if somebody impersonates and defames you, that is illegal criminally, right? Defamatory libel under the criminal code. And then also there are civil repercussions associated with that as well. So yeah, now if you want to take a stab and add anything to that.
How would someone know? I think the best case is for you to come out and say, hey, this wasn't me. This is not me. I was hacked. Someone impersonated me. I'm sorry this happened. I'm taking it down immediately. And I'm contacting authorities to make sure the person's held accountable.
But what we're now seeing is especially in the US, we're seeing some government type officials or high visibility individuals who are now actually saying what it is that they're saying, but saying that's not me.
Yeah. Okay.
Right?
So yeah, that's always been a thing, but I think the response to that shows or indicates the truth. Like, if, oh, that wasn't me, take it down right away. That wasn't me, but I'm keeping it up there. What?
Yeah.
That makes no sense.
It's getting harder, right? It's definitely getting harder because of AI.
Opinions of students using ChatGPT at school.
I'm going to answer that. We've written an article on this. You can find it on our blog. Context is everything. How are you using the ChatGPT at school? You know, it's ChatGPT, which is generative AI, is not going anywhere anytime soon. Mm-hmm. So, or at all. In fact, almost every platform is now adopting. A good example, Snapchat has now got their own form of AI that is based upon the ChatGPT platform. They use their API. Mm-hmm. So, you know, teaching students how to use it in an appropriate way is really important, right? So, you know, one of the concerns that schools had is everything to do with copyright and plagiarism, right? Like if you have to do a book report on Catcher in the Rye, you can just go into ChatGPT and have the prompt, please write me a book report on Catcher in the Rye as if it was written by a grade 12 student sent, right? And then it spits out, and within a matter of seconds, you got a full thing and kids were turning it in as their work. And so now the question was, hey, listen, is that plagiarism? Well, there's a real academic discussion going on, you know, at higher levels than me talking about those issues. But I think what ChatGPT can do is it can really create something that has the skeleton of what it is that you want to talk about. And then it leaves it to you as the individual to pack the meat onto it, right? And that it now becomes creative use of ChatGPT. So again, I think when it comes to schools, the use of ChatGPT and the context of its use is what is important. I think schools that are banning ChatGPT in their school is a huge mistake. And number two, the kids are bypassing it, right?
You can't ban it. I mean, you can ban it like in the classroom, for example. Okay, here's a test time, write an essay, got to write or use a Word document, but we've banned ChatGPT and the web access to that. Okay, fine. You're showing what somebody can themselves produce. Again, that makes sense. But here's a homework assignment. Take it home and do it. Okay, ChatGPT, or hire someone to write it for you, or reuse an essay from your older sibling they did when they were your grade. I mean, that's always been a challenge. The moment someone can take something into their own private domain, you can't guarantee what the work they produced was theirs.
Yeah, I think what this comes down to is digital literacy when it comes to ChatGPT, right? Like just banning a tool is not teaching the kids anything. That tool is going to be here. In fact, a lot of businesses are now adopting it and using it. So why shouldn't we be teaching these kids how to use ChatGPT in a positive way that is going to benefit them? Well, the reason is because educators don't know how to do it.
Because the argument's going to be, and I've seen the arguments, okay, if you ban ChatGPT, it's because they need to be able to do it themselves. What if the internet goes down? Then you are stranded and you won't be able to survive because you won't be able to write anything. My response is, great. Then everybody should learn how to do farming. Yet, that is not in the curriculum. Everybody should learn how to do Morse code. Because if the internet goes down, but no one's going to take the time to learn that. I mean, if the internet goes down, what's the purpose of school?
Yeah, I just think banning ChatGPT is useless because you can ban it on your school server, but the kids, what if they have their phone with them? They're accessing it via their data on their phone.
You ban the phones,
right? Yeah. good luck in that, right? So again, I think rather than banning a tool that is now being adopted and used by companies throughout the world, it's just, let's teach these kids how to use ChatGPT from a positive digital literacy standpoint, right? It's a tool. It's like any other tool. It can be abused and used inappropriately, or it can be used to do some positive, creative things. And I think that, you know, some of the positive things that I'm seeing teachers now doing with ChatGPT with their students is phenomenal. I'm hoping to interview one of those teachers this summer during our expert interview thing that we do every summer.
Totally.
Yeah.
Will I get charged if I watched things illegally on the internet? Unlikely.
No, not when I think illegal, I think criminal. Probably not. Could you face some civil repercussions under copyright law in our country? Potentially.
Difficult.
You know, yeah. In 2020, I think it was, we had just over, what was it, 2,200 Canadians, including teens, that were served documents under the Digital Media Copyright Act, where they were going after a breach of copyright for between $3,000 to $5,000, right? So, but if you look at the total population of Canada, that is extremely small percentage. So, criminally, probably not. Civilly, there is a risk, low risk, but it's still a possibility. That would be the best way to answer that question. Yeah.
Do you think because we talk about Canadian law, we can be pushed on social media by the new government legislation because they have to push Canadian content?
It's interesting, right? That's interesting. I know our favorite lawyer in Nova Scotia, David, is going to be doing a YouTube video on that very issue. He's a privacy lawyer here in Canada, and he's probably one of Canada's leading legal experts, and he's become a friend and colleague of us. And, you know, he's really looking at this new law that's about to pass, and he's got some real concerns about that.
Oh, yeah. I think everyone does.
Yeah.
Because it only is going to benefit the big studios. Because you have to hire somebody to make the application, be like, we're Canadian enough. That's a whole job.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
If you have posted something you regret and that can be used against you, is it really impossible to take it back if you turn a new leaf? Well, here's my answer. A lot of cases, hopefully you're going to be able, if you posted it, you should be able to take it down. I think in today's world, a lot of people who make decisions are millennials. So they were brought up, they were the first generation to be brought up in this digital world. So they kind of understand this stuff, and will give younger people the ability to kind of explain their way out. But, you know, if you did what you did in the past, but you're continually doing it throughout the years and haven't attempted to change your ways, then sometimes past performance can dictate future behavior.
True. Are there some opportunities in the world that you will not be able to achieve because you did something in the past, even though you regret it, that you won't be able to achieve that opportunity?
There's a potential.
There's a potential.
Yeah, there's a potential.
I mean, if you're looking at a general basic job in the market, you're probably going to be fine. But if you're looking for things like politics, well,
again,
we know how politics work.
Yeah. Again, I think it comes down to, once again, the context of what was posted, right?
True.
Yeah.
What if my school is full of famous TikTokers? There's no privacy.
What's interesting about that is that if the school has specific policies in place that says that people are not allowed to use their technology to shoot videos or pictures without consent of others in the school, well, then the people who are doing that, these TikTokers, are in violation of a school policy and therefore could be held accountable by the school, right? So that's how you deal with that issue.
If the school has no policy, though, then that gets a little more
becomes
tricky.
Problematic, yeah.
Is there a way for me to shorten what you are saying to convince my parents that social media is not bad as they think?
ChatGPT. No, I'm just joking. You know,
that might be a thing in the future.
Yeah. One of the things that I recommend for parents is on our website, which is
thewhitehatter.ca.
Under resources, you can see we have a free book for web parents and caregivers and even educators called Parenting in an Online World, where that's what that book is specifically designed to do, right? And it's free. It costs them nothing, and they can take time to read it as many times as they want. And we're continually updating it, so every time they go into it, they know they're getting the most relevant and current research available on these topics. I mean, we're big believers in let's enlighten it, frighten through facts, not fear. And that's one of the things that we do. I mean, in your parents' presentation, how often do we hear parents comment at the end of your presentation, "Hey, Brandon, I just want to let you know know that what you share with me today has brought me from red alert down to yellow alert, right? So because again, I think so many parents, they make their judgments based upon the moral panic and juvenile clickbait negative stuff that they're reading in the media all the time, because the media doesn't report out all the positive stuff that social media can do. So as a result of that, they've got this false impression that causes this moral panic. And so one of the ways we defeat that is providing open and honest information to parents, and that's what that resource on our website does.
Yep. Why do parents think phones are not good? I think there's a fear of the unknown.
Yeah, the fear of the unknown, the fear of a lot of the negativity associated with where it appears that the iPhone has caused all the social ills in our world without understanding. And there are some researchers out there that continue to say that it's the cell phones, the creation of the iPhone when it was first released, that they've seen this huge increase in all these things. So therefore, there's a causation rather than just a correlation. But yet they forget about things like issues surrounding climate change, poverty, the cost of living, parents who lost their lives during COVID, or friends that lost their friends during COVID, right? So, don't get us wrong. Can phones be problematic? Sure they can, much like any other tool. And the type of phone we give is important. Like we just helped a family whose 7-year-old child had an iPhone that was given to him by their father. It's a separated family. The mom and dad aren't living together. And that 7-year-old ended up getting themselves involved in a very dangerous situation online because of the access they had because of their cell phone, right? So again, it's not necessarily the phone. It's giving kids with not the right mental capacity or maturity and digital literacy the access to these types of things. So I think that's one of the reasons why.
Yeah. Can Snapchat be hacked really easily? Well, the only way it's going to happen is someone gets your account login information, and if they send you a fake login page and you're convinced to log in that way, I mean, it could be as easy as that, but I mean, it's hard for someone to externally hack into Snapchat's system itself because they have some pretty good security.
I think a lot of times that we find that, when people say they've been hacked, what usually happens is they shared their Snapchat password with their friend because they want to continue on with the streaks that are going on Snapchat because they're going away and they don't have cell phone coverage. So they give their password to their friend, but their friend today can be their frenemy tomorrow. And as a result of that, they now got the key into your Snapchat account because you gave them your username and password, and off they go. So really, they weren't hacked, right?
Yeah.
So
how can I protect my private messages? Make sure your private accounts are secured, private, and good passwords.
And just always understand that there is no such thing as private messages, right? Like you can make them more private, but they're never, ever consider that even if you're using a fully encrypted app, if you're sending me a message and it's fully encrypted, fully private, there's nothing to stop me from screen capturing that and then posting it later on. So again, we get down to the fact, just understand that no matter what your privacy, no matter what your account, including Snapchat, just understand that as soon as you hit that send button, what you've posted, although you think it's a private message, can become public, permanent, searchable, exploitable, copyable, shareable, and for sale. Never forget that rule. There you go.
Exactly. And those are the top upvoted questions from April. Ooh, a lot of questions.
A lot of questions. Some good ones, too, that kind of stumped us.
There's some good ones.
Yeah,
I like this.
That's what I love about teens, right? Like, they have a lot of smarts, right? Like, and that's why we keep saying to adults, we adults need to start listening to these teens. We adults, we bring life experience to the table that these teens don't have. But teens bring a lot of experience to the table over technology that us adults don't have. So that's why we encourage this type of the communication with teens.
All right. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you all again next month. And then schools are out for a bit, but we will be sharing some other information on all our platforms throughout the summertime.
Absolutely.
So stay tuned for that. On that note, from the White Hatter team, thank you all so much, and have a great time online.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
everybody.